Hello and welcome to the Car Care channel, and welcome to the 2023 Lexus GX460. Not any Lexus GX460, our Lexus GX460. Well, if you guys have been watching the channel, we bought this car for our family. Mrs. Car Care is the main driver for this car. We bought it almost a year ago, and can you believe it's been a year already? And it's been a great truck for us. In today's video though, we had a small accident with the GX, primarily Mrs. Car Care, but we want to fix that and take care of it, and I'll give you guys kind of an update how the GX have been for us and more right after this. So one day, Mrs. Car Care was getting some furniture for the house. She has a little project. She's onto making a custom table. So she found a person that makes the granite top, but that person told her, we can make the table, but you need to find the base. So she bought the base for the table. And of course, we went to get it. We put it in the back and we're driving home. Life is wonderful until somebody jumped in front of the car. Kind of an emergency stop. It was basically hit the person or make this very strong emergency stop. Mrs. Car Care was driving. We hit that. The table rolled and it came and it hit the center console. Hit it right here to a point where it completely ripped the leather off. Now, most of you will say, well, that is something so trivial, so small. But again, we are talking about Mrs. Car Care. She loves this car like her third child. This is the most expensive car we've ever bought, and we really take care of our things. We're a little bit old school on things, not saying that new school doesn't, but we take it to the next level. We take pride in our cars. This is one of the things we're into. This have been a burden to Mrs. Car Care, and I can tell. Is this going to affect the function of this car? It is not, but she initially said, well, can we repair it? She looked at some estimates. We looked at a new part, and she was like, this is too much for something so small. We could use this money for something else more important for the family. So she decided to live with it, but I can tell. Every time she gets in the car, that's the first thing she sees, and she feels bad about it. So in today's video, we're actually surprising her by fixing this. I'm just going to fix it, give her the car, and see how she reacts. Not gonna film that part on video, but I want to fix it. So I ordered a new one. I'm not gonna try to attempt to repair it. This is too new of a car for us to already start attempting to repair this. It's not worth it. Just replace this whole thing. It's a little expensive, but Mrs. Car Care is worth the world to me. So I want to make sure it is like nothing has ever happened. So when she sees it, it'll put a huge smile on her face because she's the best. That's the only thing I will say. She's truly the best, guys. Let's go check out the new parts. Well, let's take a look at our new part here. All right. Looks pretty heavy. Should be, because this was a little expensive. Usually interior stuff for Lexus with any kind of semi-aniline leather is expensive, because what we want to make sure here is that our new part doesn't have any damage, which you can already tell it does not. We want to make sure that Mrs. Car Care is 100% happy with it, so we're going to need to be real careful with the installation of this, which I'm already seeing here. 6 bolts. If I'm not mistaken, this is simple, but every time I have said that historically, things have been anything but simple. So let's go in the car. Let's pull the back cover. Let's try to get these bolts. Let's get this replaced, and then we'll talk about how this car have been for us for the past year. Let's remove the lid for the center console, and we start by removing this back. Got some trim tools. Let's see if this is as simple as I think it will be. Okay, progress. That's good progress right there, folks. That's the sound of progress. There we go. Okay, that was not too bad. Blue clips. This is the new style clips. So it looks like we have 6 screws holding this thing in here. But what we have to do is do this, so because this hinge is spring loaded, if I just take it off it's gonna bounce, but right now it won't. So let's take these six screws, see what happens. And we're gonna be using a very special screwdriver. A viewer walked into the shop, said hello, and he actually gifted me this screwdriver set. It's by Tecton. Thank you so much for that. I really love these screwdrivers. Actually, I've been using them a lot. So if you are that viewer, thank you so much for the gift. I really appreciate it. And in your honor, we're gonna use it to fix Mrs. Karkirna's car. Let's take these 6 screws out. Here it goes, last screw. And I already feel it loose. There it is. It's out. That was simple. I said it was going to be simple. It actually was simple. So there's that. Let me go grab the new one. We'll install it. We'll call this project done. And here's the new one. I can't wait to see Mrs. Karkirna's face when she sees this. This is going to be awesome. So some of you have asked, Mrs. Karkirna was working at the shop when we started. I say was, that doesn't mean she doesn't anymore, but she does more of the back end business stuff, which I don't know a thing about, honestly, I have to say. I tend to be organized to a point, but she's a lot more organized, so she does the back end stuff after we hired Melly. So if you call the shop, the person who will answer is Melly, short for Melinda. She is awesome. She kind of filled in where Mrs. Karkirna was, answering phones, scheduling appointments, taking care of folks that walk in the door. That gave Mrs. Karkirna a little bit of chance to first attend to our kids, because now I'm here all the time and they need some care as well, and take care of some of the stuff you have to sit behind a computer and do, business stuff, which again, I'm not really good at this stuff. I just know how to fix cars. And everything else, we go to YouTube and learn, just like you guys do. So this will make her really happy. I can't wait for her to see it. And with that, I like this. This is clipping on. These are sliding. I like this. I'm going to call this project almost done. We just got to put this one cover back. See if we can get it lined up here. And there we have it. No gap there. No gap. Folks, this is a moment in history. It's a job that I said was going to be easy, and usually when you say that, it never does. And it was actually easy. That's good. Let's talk about how this car has been for us. So my favorite things about it, the build quality. It has to be, because we review cars. I don't know if you guys know about the second channel. I started getting cars from manufacturers. We review them, say the truth about them, no bias, no nothing, just say my humble opinion about them, and we move on. So we've been kind of checking out a lot of cars and driving them and really diving into them to see, so we can do a proper review. And every time I get in this car and drive it, just the build quality is what gets me. How quiet it is. It's a big truck, and it is quiet, smooth. Everything, nothing rattles, everything is put together well. Look folks, this doesn't have the most luxurious interior in the planet. Yes, the leather is very nice, especially now with the new center console here, and things look elegant, but they're not over styled, not like some of the newer luxury cars in this price point. but the quality of things. Has been the most, to me, it was the favorite thing. Mrs. Karkarenan's take, which now she have put just over 6,600 miles on the car. Her impression is she still calls this car the dinosaur, in a good way, of course. She basically calls it that because it just feels like something massive, and it does. And Mrs. Karkarenan got in the habit of going over like bumps and things, not even feeling them. So every once in a while she'll drive the Camry, and she's just almost like, okay, now I have to be really careful with these 19-inch wheels. Her absolute favorite feature here is the shifter, how it's manual, not, you know, a little button, a rotary dial, and the infotainment screen. She likes that it's not huge and it's something over the top, and it's not tiny and very old where it doesn't work. But what I've made it better is this little Carlin kit that makes Apple CarPlay wireless. One thing I will say about it, you do lose a little bit of audio quality. It is a little bit like, there's a little bit of a delay, but otherwise things are beautiful. Both me and Mrs. Karkarenan do not like screens for gauges, because in most cars I feel like they do absolutely nothing other than mimic a mechanical gauge. So I love that the GX has a very beautiful gauge that's just proper gauges with a little screen in the middle. But the biggest thing that we love about this is the captain chairs, folks. It just, our kids, they're great. They're the best kids I can ever ask for. I mean, of course I am their father, I will say that, but they sometimes tend to not get along. Just like any kids, they will have their moments where they're not getting along. Having the third row seat and the captain chair, you could just open the door. They're old enough where they can buckle their own seat and whatnot. But one of them will go in the third row seat and just sit there. We don't have to fold seats and do all that. So the captain chair has been a really good feature for us as a family. So the only actual problem that we have had with the Lexus GX since we've owned it, it's been almost a year, 6,600 miles, is the infamous Lexus GX lean because of the KDSS. So basically, one morning, Mrs. Karkarenan got up. I was also up. We were both leaving to the shop because she has something else to do. Well, I'm driving behind her, and I'm like, why is my GX feels like the Leaning Tower of Japan? It's just leaning to one side. Of course, I know exactly what it was because this is not a new thing with the GX. But I wanted to share with you what actually that problem is, and if you have a GX, what exactly is the remedy and how does this work? So the lean will be specifically on the right side. The right side of the truck will be lower than the left side, only, not the other way around. And the reason for that is most people assume the other side is lower. It's actually not that way. It's actually this side is higher, and specifically the left front. Once you lift the left front, the air suspension in the back will want to level with it, and it's going to lift one side. And the reason that happens is, and this is the part where I don't understand it, the KDSS system, something happens to it where it becomes hyperactive. There's only a shock on this side and a shock on that side. And this is possibly the biggest limitation of the KDSS, that it doesn't have shocks on both sides. One side is fixed. So if this shock goes, something happens with the KDSS system where it pushes the truck up on one side and it seems like it's leaning on that side. So the remedy for this, and folks at the dealership that we bought it from, they were very nice. Initially I was contemplating, should I just buy the spring and just do it myself? But then one technician who works there, he's a really good technician, very experienced, and I've actually might have met him in a few like dealership events or whatnot when I worked at a dealership. So I entrusted him with this, do it under warranty, because the part was on back order and there was an allocation issue, and it would have been a big ordeal to really get it and do it ourselves. So I figured, you know what? I have a technician that I trust and a dealership that is good, and it's the same actually dealership we bought it from. Let's give it a shot, because I don't really get to experience a dealership anymore as a customer. So it helps me understand you guys, what you go through, my customers here at the shop and everything. So I was like, let's take a small gamble, and here is the solution for this problem. So the remedy for this is to replace the spring, the coil spring on this corner of the car, the left front. they put a shorter spring. And what that shorter spring does, it brings this side a little bit down, where now the KDSS, the weight of the car pushes down, the KDSS cannot push it up again. That's really all the remedy is, and we did go through this, and unfortunately it was a back order, so it took a little bit of time to get it done. And of course, Mrs. Karkirana's comment was, why of all the GXs in the world, it has to be mine? I assured her that it was a lot of other GXs as well. This is a very known problem. But of course, every single GX that shows up in the shop is not leaning, and she takes one good look at it, and I can see the sadness in her eyes, but it got fixed, so that's good. So if you have this issue though, it seems like dealerships, some of them, don't want to address this issue, because there is a specification of how much the lean is. Folks, unfortunately, that is just the way Toyota scripted this. But if you have the lean on the passenger side or the right side of the car only, not the other way around, this is the issue. It's a very known issue. It's been an issue since 2010. Now, it is beyond me why Toyota or Lexus have not done anything about it. And I actually hear reports of Prados having the same issue that have KDSS, but that's the dinosaur part. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. They figured, well, the ones that lean, we'll just replace the spring, call it a day. But what I would love to understand, and I really try to study this problem while we had it, I don't understand what happens to the KDSS that makes it all of a sudden do this, because this car was not leaning when it was new, and it is. And then I had another GX the other day with almost 200,000 miles. It's not leaning. And I look at the spring, the marking, it's the original spring. So it's really unexplainable why some of them do, why some of them don't. And I wish we can arrive at a better answer for you guys if you have this issue. But really, that is the only issue we've had with the GX, other than the issues that we kind of inflicted. But they are in the past and they're fixed. And I really can't wait to see Mrs. Karkirana's face when she sees the center console again. And the only thing we actually do not like about the Lexus GX is not the door. The door sometimes gets in the way, but I think it gives it like a character. It's kind of an iconic thing. But the only thing we do not like about it is this situation. Let me demonstrate it and you will see it. I told you we use the third row seat heavily. So watch what happens when I put it up. They couldn't have found a better solution for this. Every time. So now I have two options. I can either take this out and put it in the back, which now it's in the way, or I can kind of crumple this up somewhere here, or better yet, have it stand up. What were they thinking about this? And the second thing about the Lexus GX, we have considered adding a tow hitch. Let me put these back before this thing comes flying out again. The tow hitch on the Lexus GX, or the better question is the lack of. So we wanted, I'm not into boating or pulling anything, and I can't really afford that stuff. Sounds very expensive. But you have a trailer connect harness already built in this GX. Where's my trailer hitch? And then when you go and try to get a trailer hitch, it is so confusing because nobody can give you a straight answer. Does this fit this model? Oh, this has a sport package. Well, does this fit? Nobody knows because they have not made it clear. This is a truck that is with a V8, with an old school V8. It should have the trailer hitch already installed on the frame and ready to go, and hidden because it's a Lexus. You don't want it just sticking out like that. Well, it doesn't, and I don't know why. They even have the cutout, which to me appears to have no other purpose other than the trailer hitch, but we don't have one. And of course, the best part about the GX460 is the 460 part, the engine. I love this engine because it is a little bit on the louder side. It's a chain engine. These engines are never quiet, by the way, if you own one of them. They always will clatter and do all their things. That is just how they are. But I love this engine that it's old school. Folks, this has become the old school now. You will not find a lot of V8s that are this basic. This is extremely basic. And Many folks will say, oh, 350 Chevy is more basic and this and that, but I'm talking about modern engines. I'm not talking about old technology. This was groundbreaking when it came out. And today it is anything but groundbreaking. It is very basic. If you look at some of the more modern V8s and even V6s and all that, they make this look like the 350 when this came out. That's how old school this is. I love this engine. I love how smooth it is. The only thing, and it is a kind of a Achilles heel of this car, the gas mileage. I mean, me and Mrs. Car Care Nut, I have a heavy foot. She's have a medium heavy foot. This car have not gotten better than 12 miles per gallon. We do majority of our driving in city, and I have to say that is about the best number we've gotten. 1 week we decided we were gonna take it really easy and really try to push the envelope. Well, we got 14 miles per gallon. And at premium fuel, things are, yeah, that's the only problem with the GX. And the problem that led Lexus to drop the V8, go with the V6, unfortunately driving the Tundra and the Sequoia and the LX that has the new V6, with our driving style, we didn't get much better than that. It's just a simple math. I mean, close the hood and we'll talk about this simple math. This is a giant block that is high off the ground going down the street. It is as aerodynamic as a dual door refrigerator going down the street. That's just the God honest truth. And this massive front grille, love it or hate it, doesn't help. That's just the reality with these big trucks. No matter what they put in them, they will not get good gas mileage. Others have, and they did all this, but at the expense of reliability. If you are in the market for a GX or whatnot, from an owner standpoint, not from a mechanic or review or whatnot, you buy this for a solid build quality, but you do have to sacrifice a few things because of that old school mentality. That third row seat, the situation with the floor mat, not the end of the world, but it's like, we could have done this better. And then the mirrors that do have power folding, but they don't auto fold when you lock the car. You go buy the cheapest Lexus today, the UX, it has power folding mirrors when you lock it. And then the lane change, turn signals, little stuff like that they could have changed them so easily, but they didn't, because they didn't want to change anything. The lean, they could have fixed that from the factory figures. They didn't, because they kept it exactly the same. They just did a few cosmetic changes. But at the same time that is a problem, that is actually the best thing about the GX. And I think the new GX, I haven't had my hands on one yet. We're waiting. Hopefully we will get one to review it and check it out and share that with you. But the new GX might lose some of that magic. It will solve a lot of the issues that the old schoolness of this one will, but it will, in the process, lose the best thing about this GX. And that's why I decided not to wait for the 24. We actually went with this one. I love this car. Mrs. Car Care Nut loves this car. And I absolutely cannot wait for Mrs. Car Care Nut to see that center console. She'll be very happy. She really takes care of this car and loves it. And the only other thing is, if you must have a black one or a caviar, beautiful color, but yeah, we have construction in our neighborhood, so 5 minutes after a wash, it's right back to where we started with. That's just reality with darker colored cars. Folks, I hope this update and little repair of a little accident that we had was somewhat helpful. I hope our insights on this car, owning it for a year, have been helpful. And thank you so much for watching our channels. Thank you for your support. Everybody, you guys overwhelmed us with your support when we bought this car. We're really blessed, and we really appreciate that we were able to buy this car, and we love it and we take care of it, and we hope that we will have it for some time to come. Folks, I hope this video was helpful and informative. I hope you learned something new. If you like it, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some other videos. And until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.